Hi, I'm the Guitar Trooper, YouTube's favorite old guy. It's early 1956, and Alan Seitner, a successful businessman, had operated two jazz clubs already in Liverpool, the West Coast Jazz Club and the 21 Jazz Club, and now wants to open a new venue with a unique and innovative atmosphere. But he has no idea about what exactly that new and innovative atmosphere is going to be. During a holiday in France, he tours the West Bank Music District in Paris and discovers that a number of clubs there are set up inside of basements, many times unfinished ancient cellars whose hard walls enhance the music being played there, even when there are a number of people present. One club in particular, Le Cavern, caught his attention. The club interior actually looked like a series of caverns. This is a great idea, he thought. Not only is it intriguing, but it actually lends itself to enhancing the sounds of a playing band. Most importantly, to him, the closed-in structure had a wonderful artsy feel to it. He returns to Liverpool and sets about finding abandoned cellars. Before long, he comes across an unused basement under what used to be a fruit and vegetable shop at number 10 Matthew Street, Liverpool 2. It had been used as an air raid shelter during the war and then as storage for wine and spirits. Having a descending stairway from the entrance level, it's very dimly lit inside, and the unfinished brick walls actually give it the aura of being a dungeon. This, he says to himself, is perfect. On the evening of Wednesday, the 16th of January, 1957, in the basement at number 10 Matthew Street, Liverpool 2, a new jazz club called the Cavern opens its doors for the first time with 3 jazz bands and a skiffle group on the bill. It doesn't have a license yet to sell spirits, but that's no deterrent to the young clientele. Outside, around 2,000 patrons are queued, but only 600 are allowed in, and at 7:30 p.m., the Mississippi Jazz Band starts their set. They, of course, have no idea that they are the first band to play at what is to become the most famous nightclub in the world. And it won't become famous because of jazz. It's the summer of 1957. On Skiffle Night, Wednesday, July 16th, the Eddie Clayton Skiffle Group plays there for the very first time. The drummer, Richard Starkey, will join Rory Storm and the Hurricanes in 1959 and also begin using his nickname Ringo along with Starr, a derivation of his last name. He will gain the recognition of his peers as one of the best drummers in Liverpool. On August 7th, the Quarrymen Skiffle Group, a band fronted by guitarist John Lennon, takes the stage. While 15-year-old Paul McCartney has joined that band, he is not present at this debut. They have been warned by Alan not to play any rock, as he has some difficulty accepting even skiffle music and wants nothing to do with the new sound of rock and roll in his jazz club. Well, John Lennon has what you might call a stubborn streak, and in direct opposition to his orders after having the band open with Come Go With Me, a skiffle version of the Dell Vikings 1956 doo-wop hit, Go with me, go with me, baby, on the sea. Launches into Don't Be Cruel. Don't be cruel. That is followed by Blue Suede Shoes. Before long, a note is passed to Lennon from an audience member for which he announces, "Oh, we have a request from the audience." When he opens the paper, he finds something else. Alan, furious at Lennon's insubordination, has sent the note to the bandstand saying, "Cut out the bloody rock and roll." The show, however, continues, and so will rock and roll. By all accounts, the Quarrymen, including young Paul McCartney, play a few more times at the Cavern although there is no definitive documentation that has survived regarding how many times or when those appearances occurred. As one can see, while Alan Seitner is in charge, the only tolerated music outside of jazz is the folksy strains of skiffle music. Ownership changes, though, on October 3rd, 1959, when Alan wants to move to London in order to manage a jazz club there and sells the Cavern to accountant Ray McFall for £2,700. Ray continues the mostly jazz format, but a jazz festival on Sunday, January 10th, 1960 is a flop, with the Cavern losing a whopping £3,000 on the event. Ray, not wanting to continue that trend and having noticed that beat music is becoming quite popular, but as yet had no live performance venue in the city, decides upon a different vision for the club. Beginning on May 23, 1960, Wednesday nights are changed from skiffle night to beat night. The club's membership explodes. The jazz format is pushed out, and the Cavern becomes a beat club, heralding the era of the Mersey beat sound. New act names, playing both lunchtime and evenings, begin appearing on the ads. Names like Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, with Ringo Starr on the drums, by the way, Jerry and the Pacemakers, and with Pete Best on drums, John Lennon's new group, the Silver Beatles, now including guitarist George Harrison and Paul now playing bass, will become just the Beatles. Over the next 2 years, the Beatles will play at more and more venues, replacing Pete Best with Ringo Starr and landing a recording contract with EMI in the summer of 1962. They will continue to play dates through 1963 at the Cavern, interlaced with other appearances in the UK and at European venues. It's Saturday, 3rd of August, 1963. By now, the Beatles have a strong and rapidly expanding fan base, and their schedule is exhausting. Their manager, Brian Epstein, has booked them on what becomes the last of 280 documented performances at the Cavern Club by the Beatles. And an historical side note here, the Cavern management advertised that there were 292 performances by that group, but the available records show the aforementioned 280 performances, comprised of 155 slots at lunchtime and 125 in the evening. That discrepancy has never been explained. There is scarce documentation of the event, but the booking is a contentious affair for the group, as Friday, August 2nd, had been booked back in January for them to play at the Grafton Rooms in Liverpool for a negotiated fee of only £100, which by August was well below what the band could then demand. Brian was livid over having them booked at such a deflated rate, and then Grafton's refusal to renegotiate, but the contract was honored nevertheless. According to the Grafton Rooms contract, he was not allowed to book the Beatles at another Liverpool venue before that performance. However, nothing prevented them from being booked after it. So Brian set up the Saturday evening gig at the Cavern for a fee of £300, with the set duration being a maximum of 45 minutes. They were the last act on a bill that also included Johnny Ringo and the Colts, the Sapphires, the Roadrunners, the Escorts, and the Mersey Beats. Tickets for the final show had gone on sale on the 21st of July at 1:30 p.m. and sold out within 30 minutes. Brian, knowing how hot and dangerously crowded the club could be, insisted on an audience limit of 500, which was still a packed house. According to Tony Crane of the Mersey Beats, who did their set just before the Beatles, there wasn't a smile to be seen on any Beatle while they were awaiting their set to start. The venue was quite simply below them now. John, in particular, was dismayed at the primitive conditions, quipping, "We never should have come back here." It's 6:30 p.m., and the Cavern is filled with active people. As was the usual state of affairs there, the cool brick walls and floor acted as condensation grids for all of the moisture in the air. It ran down the walls in streams, accumulating on the floor. By the end of the evening, both patrons and performers are standing in water that was in places a centimeter deep. It was a slipping hazard at the very least, but there was also the issue of electrical cables running across the wet stage. It is said that this condensate during the Beatles set caused the power cut, which not only silenced their instruments, but also plunged the cavern into temporary darkness. According to George Martin, this is when the most phenomenal ad-lib performance of the Lennon and McCartney duo occurred. While awaiting restoration of power, those two performed an acoustic rendition of a Paul McCartney song that would not be recorded until 1967. The song was When I'm 64. From a business standpoint, the event left no one happy. When all revenue from 500 patrons at 10 shillings each and expenses for contract and personnel were tallied for the evening, the Cavern lost money on it. A lot of money. It is said that Brian Epstein owed the Cavern 6 more bookings for the group as well, but that was never to happen. Each time a date was set, Brian would back out of the booking, saying that they were otherwise occupied, and then would quip, "You wouldn't want to stand in the boys' way, would you?" Going into 1964, the club's popularity continues, but its finances are not good. Ray McFall declares bankruptcy, and much to the chagrin of its patrons, the Cavern closes on February 28, 1966. New investors reopened the club on July 23rd, but despite a license for spirits and a foray into disco, the earlier magic of the venue is lost to history. The club closes again in 1973, being demolished to make room for a British Railway Underground line. A new Cavern is opened in 73 at number 7 Matthew, across the street from the original site. This location gives way to other enterprises, and in 1984, a new Cavern club is established again at number 10, including thousands of bricks salvaged from the original 1960s club. This site is now the bustling tourist attraction that stands today, keeping alive the memories of the Mersey Beat sound and the bands that played it. Hey guys, thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do me a favor and click on that thumbs up icon and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. You can also use comments to leave suggestions for video subject matter regarding pop music and pop music culture between the 1950s and the 1970s. A great thing that you can also do to support the channel is just share the video with your friends. Just click on the arrow icon and pick the destination person and help us expand the audience. Speaking of supporting the channel, this would be a great time to subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber. It's easy and it's free, and it lets YouTube know that you support the channel. Just click on the subscribe button and be sure to select the top notification bell on the drop-down menu so that you'll be notified whenever I post new content for the public. If you would like the opportunity to see content a few days earlier when it is viewable only to channel members, you can upgrade your subscription and become one. Just click on the join icon and follow the instructions. It's not a free thing to do, but it's as cheap as YouTube would let me make it. Thanks again for watching.